Nick Bostic was navigating the streets of Lafayette in Indiana when a subdued orange hue teased the periphery of his vision. At its first instance, it was nearly undetectable. He had just whizzed past the two-story house before the gravity of the scene penetrated his consciousness. His heart pounding, he slammed the brakes. The realization came as a jolt. The house was on fire. On that eventful evening of July 11th, 2022, an insignificant argument with his girlfriend Lewis had caused Bostic to storm out of their apartment. He had intentionally left his phone behind, cutting off any communication attempts by Lewis. To ease his mind, he gassed up her car and retreated to the solitude of an auto parts store parking lot, a joint his sole company. Amid the silence, he found comfort in the stars overhead. After about 15 minutes of introspection, he resolved to return home. His journey back to the apartment was punctuated just after midnight by the sight of the house on fire. With a swift shift into reverse, Bostic steered the car into the driveway of the burning house. Flames crawled menacingly up the front porch, torching the walls. As he sprang from the car, the absence of his phone hit him with regret. He called out into the night, "Hey, help! The house is on fire!" A car passed by, but his frantic efforts to attract its attention were futile. Bostic dashed towards the back door, expecting it to be securely locked. Much to his surprise, the door gave way. Ignoring the potential danger, he courageously darted into the fiery structure. Meanwhile, for the Barretts, it was their treasured date night. With a large family, such nights held a special significance. The Barrett household was a lively one. They were regular churchgoers on Sundays, and their rented 5-bedroom, 2-story home was constantly echoing with shouts of joy and peals of laughter. The house was a hub for friends and family who frequently dropped by for barbecues, sleepovers, and lively volleyball matches in the backyard. On this particular evening, 4 of the 6 Barrett children were at home while their father, David, a 39-year-old assistant principal at Tecumseh Junior High School, and his wife, Tiara, indulged in a friendly game of darts down the street. Their eldest daughter, 18-year-old Sayona, was given the reins of the household. She was taking care of her toddler sister, Kalea, who was just a year and a half old. Their 13-year-old sister, Shaylee, was indoors with a friend, while their youngest sibling, 6-year-old Kaylani, wandered around the house in search of a bedtime companion. Kaylani despised sleeping alone. Her animated personality and innocent trust in others was so profound that it often stirred up worries in David that she might willingly walk away with a stranger. That night, she sauntered into Sayona's bedroom on the ground floor, hoping to snuggle up with her elder sister. However, feeling under the weather and with work the next morning, Sayona gently sent her away, promising to sleep together the following night. Sayona's next memory was waking up to a sound akin to an explosion. Later investigations would reveal that the fire had originated from the porch and had ignited a propane tank beside their grill. At that moment, all Sayona knew was that her room was clouded with smoke and the adjacent living room was being devoured by flames, the heat from which she could feel prickling her skin. Is this a dream? She pondered, only to be hit by a terrifying realization. She had to rescue the children. With a rush of adrenaline, Sayona dashed upstairs, quickly lifting Kalea from her crib and then darted to the next room where Shaylee and her friend lay in oblivious slumber. "Get up! Get up!" she cried out in fear. However, when she reached Kaylani's room, the sight of the empty bed sent a chill down her spine. The 6-year-old was missing. A horrific realization gripped Sayona. Kaylani often preferred to sleep in the living room, a room now engulfed in flames. The sight of the curtains liquefying was one of the bizarre observations Nick Bostic made as he sprinted through the burning house's hallway, glancing into rooms ablaze and checking for any occupants. Having scanned the ground floor to the best of his abilities, Bostic directed his attention towards the staircase. As he took his first step up, he looked up to see 4 startled faces peering down at him from a room at the top of the stairs. "Your house is on fire. You need to get out," Bostic warned them, his voice echoing in the chaos. As the girls tumbled down the stairs in a hurry, Bostic guided them along. Together, they spilled out into the open air, forming a huddle in the refreshing breeze. "Is there anyone else inside?" Bostic asked anxiously. "There's a baby still inside," Sayona cried out in despair, referring to Kaylani. However, her location remained unknown to Sayona and the other children. Unwavering, Bostic plunged back into the fire. By this time, the house was ablaze, an entire side engulfed in vicious flames. The odor was fierce and repugnant, unlike anything he had experienced before. Thick black smoke had amassed at the ceiling, cascading down towards him. The wave of searing heat that hit him felt almost tangible. Ascending the staircase, Bostic found the upstairs eerily untouched by the nearby conflagration. He scoured beneath the bunk bed and inside the closet, yet found no sign of the child. He continued his search in the other upstairs bedrooms, straining his ears for a hint of a cry, but the silence was unsettling. Convinced that Kaylani was not on the upper floor, Bostic prepared to descend. However, the staircase was now veiled in dense black smoke, a lethal curtain that had swallowed the steps. He hoisted his t-shirt to shield his mouth and nose as he hesitated at the head of the stairs. That's when he discerned the faint sound of crying emanating from the smoke-enshrouded space below. Choking on the smoke, Bostic plunged down the stairs into the darkness. With each step, he was driven by a singular mission: to locate and rescue the child. His senses were on high alert as he strained to move towards the plaintive cries, his arm extended in anticipation. Then, as if materializing from the smoke, there stood Kaylani. Swiftly, Bostic scooped the little girl into his arms and turned towards the door. However, amidst the thick smoke and overwhelming heat, his sense of direction was all but lost. He stumbled around the burning structure, desperate to locate the exit. "Where's the front door?" In his disoriented state, the only visible signposts were the lights illuminating the stairway, resembling lanterns lost in a foggy abyss. Bostic retraced his steps up the stairs, where he tripped and fell at the top. As the flames danced dangerously close, the chilling thought crossed his mind: "We're not going to make it." But summoning every ounce of strength, he managed to rise with Kaylani safely cradled in his arms. He recalled spotting a window on a part of the house yet untouched by the fire, and it became his beacon of escape. Upon reaching the room, he swiftly started to tear down the curtains and blinds covering the window. As he did so, Kaylani's ankle became entangled in a cord, causing him to slow his pace. With the curtains and blinds finally discarded, Bostic, clutching the little girl tightly, smashed at the window with his right hand. His first attempt ricocheted off the glass. For his second attempt, he gathered all his strength and his fist shattered through the window. His arm was cut in the process, but a gust of fresh, life-saving air flooded into the room. He quickly knocked out the remaining shards from the frame. Behind them, the flames closed in, and Bostic and Kaylani found themselves staring out of the open window. Below, a narrow strip of grass separated their burning house from the neighboring property's wooden fence. Bostic glanced at the little girl, then back at the menacing flames growing closer and the mounting heat. He didn't want to jump out the window, but options were limited. With little choice remaining, Bostic took a few steps back. Then, without allowing himself to fully contemplate the potential consequences, he made a dash for the window and launched himself into the open air. Launching through the air, Bostic clung tightly to Kaylani with one arm, simultaneously twisting his body in mid-flight to ensure he would land on the opposite shoulder, thereby cushioning the little girl's fall. And then they made contact with the ground. Outside, the fire department had arrived. Swiftly, they ushered Sayona and the other children away from the house, which was now fully enveloped by the flames. 6-year-old female and 23-year-old male, potentially still inside, a firefighter relayed urgently as the team hastened to gear up. Just then, Bostic emerged from the side of the house, cradling Kaylani in his arms. "Take her," he shouted, a moment captured forever on the firefighters' body cameras. He passed over the child, sobbing but remarkably unharmed save for a cut on her arm, before collapsing onto the sidewalk, gasping for oxygen. Heaving for breath, with the ruins of the house smoldering behind him, one thought echoed in his mind. "Is the baby okay?" he pleaded. "Please tell me the baby's okay." The ensuing minutes, hours, and days melded into an indistinguishable blur for Bostic. He recalls the taut pull of the tourniquet around his lacerated arm and being wheeled onto an ambulance, but his transfer to the hospital, where he was treated for smoke inhalation and first-degree burns on his ankle, leg, and arm, was a lost memory. When Bostic finally regained consciousness, he found himself intubated with his girlfriend at his bedside. As he lay there, he reflected on the dramatic events that had transpired. In his mind, he had simply reacted as anyone would in such a situation. However, outside the hospital walls, the story of Nick Bostic had already begun to spread. To the world, he was now the hero who dared to enter a burning building not just once, but twice. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw, be sure to check out the other great content on our channel. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to bring you more. Thank you again, and see you in the next video.